Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. I am sorry I am late. I am back at the parents' house. Energy is down at the apartment, so we had to get over here. But we're here. We're live. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Today, we might be getting a Supreme Court ruling, which is going to be very important in terms of what's going to be happening in the equity markets. Obviously, we were supposed to get that last Friday. We did not end up getting that information. And hopefully today, I say hopefully because it's supposed to come out today, but then again, they might choose to delay it again. Hopefully we do get that data today. And when we get that data, obviously that is going to really matter for how the markets ultimately interpret what's going to be happening with tariffs. We've got a lot of other macro headlines going on, including PPI, which to be honest, I kind of forgot we were going to get PPI today along with retail sales data, but we got it. And it's not the best. It's not the best PPI data, and that's why you're seeing the pre-markets go a bit red right here. Let's pull up what we have for PPI, and then we'll get deeper into why the markets are not necessarily liking what we're seeing right now.
Over year, if we could get that a little further under 3%, in my opinion, that would be the biggie. And in terms of retail sales, well, retail sales, I would like to see the what I would say is that unchanged would be the smallest going back to August when it was down 0.1%. Let's strip out food, energy, and trade, and it's up 0.2 as expected. Now, here we go on the year-over-year numbers. In my opinion, the most important year-over-year final demand, 3%. Hot. 3% is hot. I don't know what October was, but that would be the hottest since July when it was 3.2%. If you strip out food, energy, and food and energy on the core, it's also 3%, much warmer than a 2.7. Strip out food, energy, and trade. The one I wanted to be more under 3%, exactly the opposite. It gooses up to 3.5%. That would equal March, and to find a higher number, you're going back to Feb when it was 3.6. Asterisk, I don't have October, so I have 1 month missing when I'm doing the comps. That's the money ball number.
So PPI wasn't good. 3% for November, above expectations of 2.7%. Remember, PPI is producer price index, CPI is consumer price index. So PPI is how much producers, how much people that are actually making goods and services are paying. CPI is how much we're paying for it as consumers. Core PPI came in at 3% as well. Expectations were 2.7%. And this is now the highest level since July of 2025. But not only that, your PPI was better or worse than expected, but your retail sales was better than expected, which is technically a good thing, right? Because it means that people are spending money. Retail sales came in at 0.6% versus an estimate of 0.5%. But it also means that there's probably going to be some more inflation, because if it costs more to produce things and people are spending more as per retail sales, then the probability of a rate cut, which yesterday was 1%, today it is a little bit higher at 2.8%, seems very unlikely that we're going to get this rate cut into January. And that's okay. We might not need a rate cut in January. We might not need a rate cut for the next couple of months, to be honest. I don't think the economy is in such a horrible position where, the labor market is begging for a rate cut. But it is weird that the CPI was way better than expected yesterday, and PPI ends up being a bit ugly. Now, obviously, tariffs are probably having an impact on producers more than consumers. You've had a lot of producers come out and say that, or a lot of companies come out and say that they're going to eat the cost of the tariff so that the consumers don't eat it, so that they can make Trump happy. But nonetheless, this is one of those reports that's obviously not the best for the broader market. And as a result, the market's being affected by that as we are red. Now, it's not like some egregious red that we're seeing in the pre-markets. Yes, we are red. I wonder how the market opens. We haven't had a fully red day on the S&P 500. We've had one. Out of the past 8 trading sessions, we've had one actual red day. Is today going to be the day where we have a second one? I mean, obviously, we've been running it pretty hot over the past couple of weeks. S&P 500, very close. I mean, it's basically been at all-time highs, almost closed in on 7,000 yesterday. Maybe this is the piece of data that's going to get us there, but I don't think it has to. And so in the next 30 minutes, we're going to find out. NVIDIA goes red. Bitcoin and Ethereum yesterday got a nice little boost and a jolt as certain congressional members put out a crypto framework. The Clarity Act is not out yet, but what they released yesterday after hours got crypto exciting. Bitcoin went all the way up to 96. Ethereum got to 3350. Both of those are down right now, but they at least did get some love. Meta continues to go down. almost 1% of the pre-markets. PayPal's flat. AMD's down 2% after going up 7% yesterday. Netflix is potentially offering Warner Brothers an all-cash offer of $83 billion. They only have $9 billion in cash, so they're going to have to raise some cash to be able to do that. But that stock's up 1.3% on that idea. BMNR is up 2.5%. MicroStrategy is up 2%. You got Nebius down 1%. Nike down 0.5%. TSM down 1%. APLD down 2%. Google down 0.5%. Relatively red pre-market when I think the biggest catalyst to maybe flip this red or continue this red further is going to be the Supreme Court. And we're going to see if we actually get that Supreme Court decision. What's not red is silver. I mean, I was up last night looking at this. This is becoming, this is just becoming, I don't even know what to say. Silver's at 92. Up another 6.5%. Copper is exploding yesterday. It passed $6 last night, or it passed like $6.50. Again, COPEX, I think, is probably one of the better ways to get exposure to it. You just buy the copper miner ETF, which I did own for a little bit before, and then I sold it. This thing's at 81 in the pre-markets. The most annoying thing is FCX Freeport. I was really looking at it at $40 back in December and ended up not pulling the trigger. This thing is now $60. I mean, the copper miners have just gone crazy. The silver miners are going up. I mean, if this is the new normal, I don't think it's healthy for silver to go up 6% every week, but it is what it is. It's happening, and you're starting to see a lot of shops actually say that they can't sell you physical silver anymore, which is only driving the prices higher because they don't have the inventory because there's just so much demand. So if you're in it and you've been in it for a while, maybe it doesn't make sense to sell, given you got to see how large this can go. If you want to get net new long, and it's just obviously more risky because anything could happen in regards to margin requirements that go higher, in regards to industrial use cases potentially changing, even though that's a little bit less of a risk. But these assets are doing incredible. And we're seeing a lot of momentum. Commodities have lagged for years. This is their time to shine. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I just think for all of us over the past 10 years, we've not seen commodities go up 5 or 6% every other week, right? Like that's a whole new paradigm for us to be in. But I mean, if you look at the chart of silver, copper, even gold, these things have lagged the S&P 500 per se over the past 15 years. So if this is their breakout moment, then they are absolutely seeing that breakout. Broadcom right there, that's down 1%. Celestica down 1%. Salesforce, Adobe and Salesforce got hit pretty bad yesterday. The entire software suite of names yesterday got hit pretty damn bad. It looks like SaaS once again continues to be out of favor. IGV to start the year, it's down another 1% of the pre-markets. This is the software ETF. IGV year to date, wow, down 3%. If you compare that to SMH, which is your AI infrastructure and the semis, that is up 6% year to date. So semis once again continue to gain more momentum over these software names. All right, this is what we got. So again, PPI, not as good. Retail sales better than expected. I don't really think this is necessarily a bad thing for the market for PPI to be as high as it is, but it's like not indicative of a rate cut. But we also, we knew we weren't going to get a rate cut anyway in January. So doesn't really change the equation. The question is, does the market react negatively towards this ultimately when we open up? Let's get into a bunch of other macro topics because we got a lot to talk about. I think the biggest story of the morning, quite frankly, and I'll put the red or green poll in the chat and see what people are thinking for today. Cheesecake Factory has been crushing it lately. Where's their stock year to date? Wow, why is Cheesecake Factory up 18%? Oh my, that is... Did not see that. Well, there you go. Yeah, I guess Cheesecake Factory is crushing it. Like, goodness gracious. I love Cheesecake Factory. I did not know it'd be up 18% this year. Max 7 are all red. There's only a couple Max 7 that are green year to date, which is, I mean, again, I did an article yesterday. I'll link it right here in the chat. I talked about this high beta rally. And part of understanding the high beta rally is that Max 7s have not, or large caps in particular, have not really participated. Now, the S&P 500 has kind of participated in regards to the S&P 500 basically being at an all-time high, but that's been led by utilities, defensives, and consumer staples, not tech. Tech has not led the way. In fact, let me show you guys this chart right here. I thought this was a pretty incredible chart as well, and then we'll get into some of this macro stuff. Has anyone seen the stocks that are actually leading the stock market this year in the S&P 500? It's kind of incredible when you take a look at this. By the way, Micron got another upgrade today to what, $400? Yeah, it looks like $400. We also got bank earnings. We'll take a look at that. Micron gets an upgrade today to $400. Let's pull up this, and then we got Bank of America, Citi, and Wells Fargo's earnings to take a look at. As well. The H200 stuff, guys, that's not a big deal. Those headlines came out yesterday. Whenever you see the China H200 headlines, you just got to ignore it at this point. Yesterday, NVIDIA said we're going to allow it, but in certain sectors, United States put out something saying we're going to allow it, but we're going to have third-party checking it. Like, they're going to be able to sell to China. It's just not going to happen overnight. So I would really ignore the H200 headlines. I really don't think it's having a material impact anymore. They will be able to sell to China. It's just going to take time. And so NVIDIA might react to it, but eventually that's going to be something that gets sold to the Chinese. And Baba, Tencent, all of them have said that they want those chips. So take a look at the top 10 stocks in the S&P 500 this year. You got SanDisk and Moderna. When the hell did Moderna go up 35%? Can someone tell me the catalyst for that to happen? Intel, which by the way is up again. The reason Intel's up again is because Trump leaked in an interview that Apple might be investing in Intel last night. Intel right now is at $48.40. I cannot look at this stock without literally wanting to cry every single day. But Intel right there, that's up 28% for the year. Lam Research, semiconductor name, Huntington Ingalls, Western Digital, Builders, FirstSource, Lennar, Home Builder, Schlumberger, Micron, KLA, Applied Materials, Teradyne, Freeport, which is your copper miner. Does this look like NVIDIA, Tesla, Amazon, Palantir, Robinhood? Like, no, none of those typical names. I mean, a lot of people don't even know a lot of these companies here, which is kind of crazy, right? So to start off the year, we've had a fundamentally different, I guess, rotation / broadening of the market, which is actually healthy. It's not like it's a bad thing. NVIDIA probably shouldn't be the leader every single year as that becomes top heavy, but my goodness, it's different. It's very different from how we started off last year and how we started off 2023 and 2024, where it was led by AI and tech. And I know we're only a couple weeks into this year, but maybe AI and tech just isn't what's going to lead it in the short term. And that was kind of the thesis of the article that I went into last night, which is that diversification into other sectors might be the way this ends up playing out. Let's put the green or red poll in the chat, green or red today. Kohler, yes, I saw they did get a deal this morning for battery storage. It's a pretty decent deal for them. I don't have the exact numbers on how much they're making off this deal. That stock's up 24%. This has been seen as a battery stock for a long time. It was a little bit meme-ish back in like 2023, but there was something fundamental there. It's just like they didn't have the types of deals that they had, or the types of partnerships and deals that they were making as of today. $30 million battery supply contract for space and defense. Kohler secures a 5-year preferred battery supply agreement with Cabin Energy, estimating $30 million in revenue beginning in 2026. The agreement includes expanded U.S. manufacturing and supports growing demand across telecom and digital infrastructure. Once again, and again, Kohler was basically a penny stock for the past couple of years, right? So like you had to really understand the technology to be able to go long on this and get the benefit of this 24% move before this announcement came out. But every time we see one of these, again, high beta, small cap names get a gap up in the pre-market, it's because of some type of deal that is like 30% of their market cap, which Kohler's market cap is what? 157 million. This is a $30 million deal. So obviously that's why the street's excited. And then it's something with manufacturing, something with the energy grid, something with infrastructure, something with telecom, something with data centers. And that's what you're seeing right here with Kohler. So not a story that is unknown, but definitely a story that has repeated itself many, many times throughout at least the first 2 weeks of 2026. And we're seeing that get some benefit right here for Kohler. I think I have some Kohler calls that I gave up on. Yeah, this name became a bit meme-ish a while ago. It really got a lot of attention, and then it kind of died out. But then a deal like this today gives it some more momentum. Up 20% right here. S&P 500 actually down about 0.38%. Path got hit 7%. Claude perceptually replacing the idea of RPA inside of UiPath. So I don't think it necessarily is going to kill Path or anything like that, but that one got hit 7%. It's down another 1%. I ran at a great after hours yesterday, gapped up all the way to 54, now at 53. So this one's been doing very well. It was up 5% yesterday. And then you had Nebius right here, 104. That's down about 0.5%. Robinhood got up to 120 yesterday because of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin slows down, it seems like Robinhood will slow down, but Robinhood got a little bit of a gap up based on that. Where is Rocket Lab? We almost hit 90 yesterday, 84 for Rocket Lab, down 2%. That's what you have for Rocklet. Okay, so let's talk about the other big headline this morning, which I think was also really, really important, and that has to do with Greenland. Folks, I think Trump's going in. It seems kind of inevitable that Trump is going in just based on how he's talking about this. So here's what he tweeted this morning, and then we'll talk about what's going on with Iran as well, because it also seems like he's getting ready for that. This is what he tweeted a couple hours ago. The United States needs Greenland for the purpose of national security. It is vital for the Golden Dome that we are building. NATO should be leading the way for us to get it. If we don't, Russia or China will, and that is not going to happen militarily without the vast power of the United States, much of which I built during my first term and am now bringing to a new higher level. NATO would not be an effective force or deterrent, not even close. They know that, and so do I. NATO becomes far more formidable and effective with Greenland in the hands of the United States. Not only that, the United States came out this morning and said, hey, Denmark should tell any Russian or Chinese citizens to leave Greenland. Now, I don't know how many Russian and Chinese citizens are in Greenland, but the fact that the United States is telling Denmark to tell Greenland for the removal of Russian or for the voluntary disposal of Russian and Chinese citizens from the region, it really makes you think that they are going in. And, given Trump did what he did in Venezuela, I don't know if it's easy to doubt that they're going to be doing this. But the question is, are they actually going to go for it? And if they are actually going to go for it, I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to be quite fascinating to see if this fully ends up playing out. He talked a little bit more about Greenland yesterday as well, and said that, we're going to have to go in and do what we have to do. And then he also talked about Iran. Obviously, he said he wants to make Iran great again. We've got some internal debate between J.D. Vance and Trump around how to handle that. Here's what he said last night on CBS around Iran as well.
Now we're hearing that they're going to start hanging protesters tomorrow. So it comes back to the question, have they crossed your red line, or has the line moved?
I haven't heard about the hanging. If they hang them, you're going to see some things that I don't know what where you come from and what your thought process is, but you'll perhaps be very happy.
What do you mean by that?
We will take very strong action. If they do such a thing, we will take very strong action.
And this strong action you're talking about, what's the end game?
The end game is to win. I like winning.
How do you define that in Iran?
Well, let's define it in Venezuela. Let's define it with al-Baghdadi. He was wiped out. Let's define it with Soleimani. And let's define it in Iran, where he wiped out their Iran nuclear threat in a period of about 15 minutes once the B-2s got there. And that was a complete obliteration, as it turns out, which is what I said initially. Then some questioned it, and they said, Trump was right. So we've been right about everything. We don't want to see what's happening in Iran happen. And, if they want to have protests, that's one thing. When they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good.
So you've got Trump making a very specific claim on Greenland and why the United States needs it. And then you just heard his comments about Iran. Here's the other reason I think they are going to be very serious about taking over Iran. So take a look at this right here. This is a video that's been going viral. This is an Iranian girl burning a picture of the Ayatollah while smoking a cigarette. Okay, so this concept has been going viral in Iran, and a lot of people have been engaging in the same action. Now, take a look at who quote tweeted that post. Montana's U.S. Senator doing the exact same thing. And then you had another senator doing the exact same thing as well. Ultimately said, another one did it with a cigar. And you guys think she's from Canada? All right, well, she's an Iranian girl. I don't know if she's in Iran, but she's an Iranian girl. But you have multiple U.S. senators that are quoting that video. And they're also, like, here's another one. Here's Claudia. This is a representative from New York. And take a look at what she's doing here. The caption is, "Smoke him if you got him." She's a full-on cigar burning a picture of the Ayatollah. The point is, the sentiment inside of inside of this part of the administration is on the side of, if you're burning a picture of the Ayatollah. These are from the legit Republican Senator X accounts. If Trump says he wants to go in, he's definitely going to get the support of a majority of the Senate and at least, somewhat a majority of the House, even if it's only 50%, in order to go in. Now, is going in the right idea? I don't know. I don't necessarily think so. Obviously, we've tried to invade other nations before, Libya, Syria, Iraq. It hasn't really worked out. I don't know if this would be a full-on invasion or if this would be some type of special military operation like it would be in Venezuela. But the point is, foreign policy and how the Trump administration is thinking of it seems vastly different than what it was back in 2016. And the idea here now is that, we might actually want to take a bigger role. Now, I think one of the major reasons why Trump would want to invade is not just for the freedom of the Iranian people, which is obviously what he's saying that matters the most, but there's a lot of oil in Iran, just like there's a lot of oil in Venezuela. And that might be another reason for why this is playing out. So again, those were two senator accounts. You can go to their accounts that are quote tweeting those pictures, and whether that girl was in Canada or in Iran herself, the point is the sentiment is that this regime is not necessarily favored by the United States. And I'm not going to share exactly how the United States deals with that. So why does this matter? Well, obviously, this is going to affect the stock market to an extent if we go in from a defense contractor perspective. And I think that's why Trump said he wants to increase the defense contractor budget a couple of weeks ago into another 1.5 trillion, which I don't know if he's going to be able to do, but that's something he wants to. Lockheed Martin right there is down 0.5%. But also, oil prices are now at $2.17. $2.17 nationally. You're seeing it get very close to $2 in certain parts of the country. In New Jersey, it's around at $2.30. If that continues to decline, you got WTI crude that's up a little bit right here, 1% in the pre-markets, because we get more cheap oil. And obviously that's something that could have a lot of impacts on the broader economy and something that's also going to be important for affordability. Speaking of affordability and the markets, Trump had a speech yesterday about J-Powell. Again, J-Powell is under investigation. And after you watch this video, it's hard to imagine that Trump is not on the side of asset holders. He's also trying to be on the side of affordability. But it's hard to be net bearish in 2026 when you have Trump speaking the way he's speaking.
Today, if you announce great numbers, they raise interest rates to try and kill it. So you can never really have the kind of rally you should have. What happens and what we want, we're going to have a lot of great months, a lot of great quarters. I want the market to go up. You announce unbelievable numbers and the market goes down because they know you're going to do everything possible. In the Fed, we have a real stiff in the Fed, but that's for another day. But they raise rates. So everyone says, oh, they announced great numbers. It's great, great, great. And the market goes down because they immediately raise rates. No, when the market goes up, they should lower rates. You want to see 20% and 25%? You want to see what we can do? We've got to go back to an old standard. When there's good news, the market should go up, not go down. Does that make sense to everybody? And that's the way it used to be for most of the time. That's the way you make a country great. But our growth potential is unlimited and could be much higher if we went back to sanity. We're not doing it anymore. We're talking about the head of the Fed. And I want somebody that when the market is doing great, interest rates can go down because our country becomes stronger. See, you view it differently. Our country becomes stronger, and therefore interest rates should go down, not up. They kill every rally. If it's no matter who, it's beyond me as president, it's no matter who's president. You have a good quarter, and they want to kill it because you're so petrified of inflation. And growth and inflation don't necessarily go hand in hand. You can have growth and very low inflation. In fact, oftentimes growth is good for low inflation. So we're going to work on that, Scott, right? I think we're going to work on that very hard. I mean it so strongly. It's sickening. We announce good numbers and we see the stock market drops 300 points. I say, what the hell is going on?
Again, when you see Trump talk like that, it's hard to not be in equities or at least long risk on assets, given he is explicitly talking about caring about the markets. And if he's explicitly talking about caring about the markets, then whatever moves he's going to make, obviously, are going to have some impact on the markets. I don't think he wants older people with their retirement accounts down 20% in November when they go to vote for the midterm. So, this is one component of many different components of 2026, which is the administration going to be on your side? Is the administration going to be conducive to the idea of making sure this fourth year of the bull market sustains itself? At the same time, the administration wants to focus on Main Street, not just Wall Street. And as a result, they're going to obviously try to help affordability, which is like probably the majority of the concern that American voters have going into the midterms. But it feels like Trump is going to attempt for both. Try to increase GDP, try to increase AI, try to increase data centers, try to increase the labor market and jobs being built from AI, but also try to increase affordability. And I don't know if he's going to be able to pull off both, but it's hard to imagine not being long when he's trying in this particular way. The other thing that I think was really important about that is, he had multiple more comments yesterday about J-Pow. He is getting very excited for J-Pow to leave. And whoever he puts in, whether it's Rick Reeder or Kevin Hassett or Kevin Warsh, obviously he's thinking that there should be a good shot that one of those people ends up cutting rates dramatically. I don't know if we're actually going to get that. Japan's 30-year and 10-year bond once again hit the highest levels in history that they've ever been at. It feels like something's going to break with Japan, even though we're not seeing that yet. The US 10-year down a little bit. Japan bonds are not really doing the best. Bitcoin right there at 95,000. Gold continues to go higher. Silver continues to go higher. So it feels like a weird time for the administration to be thinking around affordability when you have all these like uncertainty signals that are just wavering. But it still feels like you have to be long asset classes at the end of the day. Now, one of the things about affordability that Trump is focusing on is obviously, the new Fed chair is in May, is around credit card rates. You had Mike Johnson come out yesterday and say, wait a second, I don't really think it makes sense for us to cap credit card rates because a lot of people are not going to get the credit that they need. And so he kind of disagreed with Trump. And then you had Elizabeth Warren come on today and also give her thoughts on what she's thinking around credit card rates.
Lower costs for American families. He gets elected. And the very first interview, he says on day one that he will lower costs for American families and that's why he got elected. And yet here we are a year in, and the cost of groceries is up. The cost of utilities is up. The cost of housing is up. The cost of healthcare is up, up, up. And all of those costs are up because of policies that Donald Trump and the Republicans in Congress have pushed on our economy. So the argument I was making in the speech is it's time for Democrats to jump in to hold Donald Trump and the Republicans accountable for these higher costs for American families, and then make a choice as we go forward. We can take our economic agenda and sand it down, narrow it down to make it more acceptable to billionaire donors, or we can actually go full-throated on behalf of the American people and make bold proposals and demonstrate that we will get in there and fight for them. But this was all about lowering costs for American families because that's what Democrats are going to do, and that's what the election of 2026 is going to be about.
So shortly afterwards, you get a call from the president.
Yeah.
Were you surprised? What happened?
Yes, I was surprised. In fact, I did not recognize the phone number. So the question then is, he raises the point about a cap on credit card interest rates, something that had come up in the speech and that I've been working on for years, and that is trying to get interest rates down. And he said he wanted to work on that. And I said, great, let's get something done, because my point was, and I had made this point in the speech, he had not lifted a finger to try to get something through on credit card interest rate caps. And then while I had him, I said, there's something else you could do just right away. We need to bring down the cost of housing. And the way we do that is to increase housing supply all across this country. We're 3 million units of housing short. And we need urban housing, rural housing, housing for first-time home buyers, housing for renters, housing for seniors, housing for people with disabilities. So I had worked with Chairman Tim Scott, the Republican chair of the Banking Committee. We put together a bill that had 40 proposals in it, every one of them aimed toward increasing supply, making it easier to get approvals, more on manufactured housing, passed the Senate unanimously, and yet goes over to the House, and the House Republicans won't move it at all. Gets tangled up over there. And I said, Mr. President, you want to help bring down the cost of housing? Light a fire under your House Republicans, get them to move this bill. Let's get it signed into law, and let's get started now.
So here is the most important thing I thought about that. Trump called up Warren. I mean, how many times would you hear that headline, that Trump actually called up Elizabeth Warren to get something done? It's quite fascinating when the Democrats and Republicans actually agree on something. And in this situation, they did indeed agree, or at least Trump agrees with Warren on the idea of capping credit card rates. But then we heard Mike Johnson yesterday, who said, I don't think President Trump fully, literally, he explicitly is like, I don't think Trump fully thought through the idea of capping credit card rates. Goldman Sachs came out yesterday and said the average APR is 18%, which is 800 basis points above the proposed 10% rate. And Mike Johnson said these companies are not going to give people credit. So we kind of can't do this. And what is Warren's argument? Warren's argument is, hey, I'm ready to pass this, but the House, which is controlled by a majority of the Republicans, are not going to pass this because your party is not going to side with the consumer, theoretically, when it comes to this. So what's fascinating about this, and I think the reason Visa and MasterCard continue to get hit, these guys are now gapping up a little bit pre-markets. I guess 2 days of red was enough, and maybe they'll get a little bit of remorse right here, but they were down 4% yesterday and then 4% the day after that. So about 7 to 8% for the down for the week for MasterCard and Visa. I think the reason they're going down is because now the market's pricing in, wait a second, if Trump can convince the House to vote for this and work, and maybe it's not going to happen by January 20th, obviously that's only 6 days away, but if he actually can get his party to come around this idea, maybe they do pass some type of bill. They already have multiple proposals inside of the Senate right now that caps credit card rates at 10%. And it would be an economic experiment because we haven't done something like this, to my understanding, in a very long time. I personally think it would probably limit a lot of the credit that gets out there. I think, like, logically that would be the case, but maybe there's a world in which it actually is more effective. It creates more affordability. We're going to have to see, but I do think it's more on the table that like 3 days ago, I was like, there's no chance in hell it's going to happen. And now I'm like, no, there is a shot. There is absolutely a shot. And if it does happen, then obviously that would be something that's potentially good for affordability, but also would affect a lot of the financial institutions that we all cover. By the way, just got a Wall Street Journal headline right here. The U.S. is evacuating some personnel from a base in Qatar as Trump considers ordering military action in Iran. Wow. The U.S. military is evacuating some personnel. The U.S. has begun to move some personnel out of the base where the U.S. military has a major presence, given the escalating tensions between Washington and Tehran. Trump on Tuesday told Iranians demonstrating their support for the government that help is on the way, a sign he may soon intervene to support the protests. This is why I was showing those Republican officials smoking the cigar and burning the picture of the Ayatollah. I mean, it looks like the entire side, or that entire side of the administration, is more so on the side of intervening, or at least having some type of special military action versus not. And if Trump has the support of his part of Congress, then, you know, there's a real world in which they actually try to get this done. So that is something we're going to have to watch out for. By the way, we're supposed to get a Supreme Court decision on tariffs today at 10 a.m. So that's another big thing that's going to matter in 40 minutes. I mean, I hope we actually get the decision, but that's going to matter. I think capping credit card rates at 17 to 18% is doable. Yeah, it might not be 10%. It might end up being a middle ground, right? It might just not be like 30%, at which, you know, Trump tends to negotiate a lot, and they might meet somewhere in the middle, but like 15% in the middle would be better than 30, and it would maybe make it economical for companies at 10. But I do think the 3% cash back, 5% rewards, all that stuff is probably out the window if they end up capping them at a much smaller rate, because the only reason people are able to get those rewards, obviously Intel up 2%, is because people pay those high APRs. So I guess over the coming weeks, we're going to see if that ends up happening. U.S. freezing Brazil, Russia, Iran visa processing. Wow. Guys, it really looks like something's going to happen there. I mean, unless the entire regime offers a massive concession to the Trump administration or to the entire West and kind of pulls back. But if you see how the Iranian regime is tweeting about this, I mean, they're over here basically saying that all these protesters are traitors and they're all going to be punished. And some of the videos that are going around the killings that's been happening, it's a pretty bad situation. And it does feel like Trump wants to get involved here. Greenland government says from today, there will be an increased military presence in and around Greenland in close cooperation with NATO allies. Okay, so you got the Greenland government. They did come out yesterday, Greenland. There were some reports last week that Greenland was open to negotiating with the United States. Yesterday, the Greenland prime minister came out and said, yeah, we absolutely have zero intention of working with the United States. They even said that if we have to choose, let me play this video right here, between the US and Denmark, we would end up choosing Denmark.
Nu står vi med en geopolitisk krise.
Okay, there's no captions there, but let me show it. If we have to choose between the United States and Denmark here and now, we choose Denmark, we choose NATO, the Kingdom of Denmark, and the EU. So they are not a fan of using the United States. Now, them coming out with this statement of saying, hey, we're going to put out a military presence around Greenland, I mean, that doesn't matter, right? Like their military presence is not necessarily going to stop the United States. What's going to stop the United States is the United States saying, hey, we don't want to do this because it would ruin a relationship that we have with NATO over the past 75 years. And every single EU country signed a statement yesterday universally condemning the idea of the United States actually trying to do this. I mean, if we do that, you know, the thing about the Venezuela stuff is that it was condemned across the world, but it was condemned from a lot of dictatorships. You had places like France and Canada say, actually, we think it's a good idea that the United States captured Maduro. If they were to do this on Greenland, I don't think they would get that type of universal support from the West and the allies that the United States has, like they got with Venezuela. And that's where things get a lot more difficult to understand. Another statement from the Greenland government: purpose is to train the ability to operate under the unique Arctic conditions and strengthen the alliance's footprint in the Arctic for the benefit of European transatlantic security. They're talking about the increased military presence in that part of the region. So I don't know. These are two stories that are going to be developing over the next coming weeks. We might even get updates on the weekend around what's going to be happening with these two places. But my gut tells me Trump is going into both. And it doesn't feel like something right now can stop him, even though, again, the Wall Street Journal did report that, you know, Trump is having conflicts with J.D. Vance, as J.D. Vance is saying that we should do this in a more diplomatic way. And Trump is thinking of the opposite. We got 5 minutes until the market open. A couple macro stats. Take a look at this. We didn't get the Santa Claus rally, but there have been 6 times in history where we don't get a Santa Claus rally, aka we're down for that period during December. But then in the first 5 days of January, if we're higher than the decline that we had during the Santa Claus rally, January on average is up 3.5%. And on the calendar year, it's on average 12%, even though Q1 ends up being down about 0.3%. So that's exactly what's happened so far. We didn't have a Santa Claus rally in December. We actually ended red 1% down on the S&P 500 on the last day of the year. First 5 days of January have been really good. That theoretically should give us a 12% year if it follows up with history. Last time this happened actually was 2025, and we did better than 12%. We did 16%. So maybe if that happens again, then you could see some more momentum as we end out the year. All right. 4 minutes until the market opens. Again, the Supreme Court stuff is the most important. S&P down 0.38. If you're just joining, PPI came in worse than expected. 3% versus 2.7%. Of course, Intel is mooning. Why not? 48.90. There are rumors that Apple will be investing in Intel. And that's why Intel, and Trump is the person who started those rumors last night in an interview, which is what's getting Intel some momentum. How will the market react if Trump does end up invading? I don't know. I thought the market would be a little bit more upset about what Trump did in Venezuela, and the market didn't care. Like literally the market did not care. So I wonder how the market would react if this. I mean, put in the chat, what do you think? Do we go down or up? Do we go red or green if Trump actually tries to take over Greenland? Like my gut tells me we're going to go red. Like I think that's going to create a lot of instability across the world, even if it's a successful operation. Also, what does it mean to take over? I mean, there's 57,000 people there. Like what is exactly does it mean to invade and take? Like I don't even. It's not some special operation where you're capturing someone who's engaged in narco terrorism. Like it's a whole different paradigm. I don't see how that's bullish in the short term, even if Trump tries to justify it from a military perspective. Now, granted, Bitcoin went up when we saw what happened with Venezuela, so maybe Bitcoin catches a bid if that happens, but the geopolitical instability might be the only thing that's kind of helping and is conducive for Bitcoin. Meta, let me know if you bought the Meta dip yesterday. I was close, but I didn't. I don't know. Meta is just, it feels like a falling knife, but it also feels like it can reverse. Obviously, this multiple that it's trading at feels stupid, trades at a price of sales of 8, forward earnings of 18, but it also feels like Zucks has some things he has to figure it out. I mean, Claude Cowork basically is Manus, which is what Meta acquired for $2 billion. And the fact that Claude Code coded Claude Cowork, I mean, you got a lot of people wondering why the hell is Zuck spending $2 billion on these types of acquisitions, that will it even be meaningful to the bottom line for Meta? So I think they're in a precarious situation right now, and after earnings, we'll probably get some more clarity. Broadcom's down 2%, Nvidia's down 1%, AMD had a big day yesterday. That one is down 2%. We're going to see what earnings looks like in the coming weeks. Oh, we did have earnings today. We'll talk about that in a bit. But Bank of America, I believe they beat on the top and the bottom. That stock's down 3%. Okay. Citi, how about them? They are up 1%. And then Wells Fargo, they are down 2%. All right. So we'll take a look at earnings after the bell. I believe most of the banks continue to beat, just like what we saw yesterday. But their stocks, just like JP Morgan, had a great earnings. It just wasn't able to pull through. Citi missed on revenue by 3%, beat by 12% on EPS. Bank of America beat on EPS and revenue by 3%. And then Wells Fargo had a miss by 2% and 3% on EPS and revenue. So relatively small misses, more beats than not. But all three of those stocks are flat to red as we get into the market open. All right, folks, here we go. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's see if we get the Supreme Court decision in 30 minutes. It is Wednesday, January 14th, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it. S&P 500, 691. As it goes red, 691.22, down about 0.34%. The VIX is green. Visa getting a little bit of a rebound after a 4% decline from yesterday. Bank of America falls another 3%. Citigroup's up 1.4%. Wells Fargo, ugly decline right there. That's down 3.8%. Kohler got a $30 million contract. That's up 14%. Intel's up 2.5%. Adobe once again goes red. Stock was down 7% yesterday, 308. Adobe's getting close to going below 200, $129 billion market cap. Iran goes red. Robinhood goes up a little bit because of Bitcoin. Nvidia is red, another 1%. Wow. Ethereum 3,300. Salesforce is down 0.5%. Meta 625 continues the red from yesterday, as that is now losing 630 for the first time this year. ASST, they acquired a company yesterday, but they are also doing a 20-to-1 split. That stock is red by about 1%. JP Morgan continues to go down. BMNR up 4.4% as Ethereum goes a bit higher from yesterday. Google, which hit 340 yesterday, that's back at 333. That's down. So crypto names are moving. Hood, MicroStrategy, BMNR, and Coinbase. Hood just went red. MicroStrategy is up 3%. BMNR is also up 4%. But those are the majority of the risk-on assets that are actually green. Amazon, wow. If we lose 240 again, and we're back in the 230s, it's just not able to hold the pump. Alibaba, that one's up another 3%. So the China names took a one-day breather, and they now continue to go green again. Palantir is down 1%. COPEX is up 1.8%. Copper Silver continues to do amazing. SLV up about 5% right there, 82.75. Silver is now $92 an ounce. TSM, that's down 1%. Nike is up. I think Nike is getting a bid because in the next 20 minutes, we might get a Supreme Court decision. And that could be pretty bullish for Nike. A lot of these moves, quite frankly, you can't even trust until you get the Supreme Court decision because it could have some resounding impact. So that's something we definitely have to wait for. CoreWeave goes up 2%. Amcor is down 1.4%. Zeta below 23. Okay, so 22.50 I think is a relatively decent dip from the highs of about 24.80. Obviously, if you can get it below $22, that would even be better. But the valuation work on this, it supports this price around 22.40 as being undervalued. But if we're all seeing a red decline across the entire market, then maybe that one continues to go down. App Lovin 654, that's down 2%. As that is down, Datadog's down 1%, Bloom Energy is down 4%, SMH is down 1%. Wow. All right. So you're seeing a lot of the risk on stocks and a lot of the stocks that got a lot of momentum. They're taking a breather. OSS, that's down 4%. Grab is down another 1.5%. EOSE, massive day yesterday. That's down 5.6%. Tesla is also part of that. That's getting hit 1.4%. Trade Desk down. Amazon down below 240. Warner Brothers is actually up a little bit based on that Netflix offer. Is Netflix green? Netflix is slightly green, 90.79. BMNR up 3%, but pretty much everything else is going red. Amcor below 51. It looks like a good old-fashioned red day, which we haven't had in a couple of weeks, to be honest. Reddit down 2%. ASTS down 3%. Where is Rocket Lab? Rocket Lab is down 1%. NVIDIA, are we losing 183? We have lost 183 on NVIDIA. 182.50. How about VG? VG is up 3%. VG is up 3%. It's a legit full-on red day so far. I mean, 3 minutes into it, obviously anything can reverse, but haven't seen this type of an ugly red across various sectors. It feels like in the past couple of weeks. Iran just went red. Adobe continues to go down. Intel trying to hold on to that 2% move. Nebius down 1.8. Lockheed Martin, that one goes red. Roblox actually had a big 10% move yesterday. There's this game on Roblox that is going viral, which the name of the game, I forgot it, but last night it was some weird name. Someone put the name of the game in the chat. It's like the weirdest name ever, but it's going super viral, and that's why it was up 10% yesterday. And that one's getting some momentum. Adobe, that's down. Ethereum and Bitcoin, the only ones that are actually holding up. Ethereum, yeah, steal a brain rot or something. It's this game that has gone so viral on Roblox, and that's brain rot in the name. Steal a brain rot, that's what it's called. Kids are playing something called Steal a Brain Rot. It is very weird, but nonetheless, it's getting a lot of attention. VG, this one, $8. All right, so you're seeing LNG get a little bit of love right here. This one broke over 750 yesterday. Again, it was stuck at around 630 for the majority of the end of 2025. Bank of America getting hit pretty bad. S&P 500 still down about 0.34%. How about ELF and Nike? ELF is down 1%. Nike's up a little bit. Again, that Supreme Court ruling is going to be important. Oscar is 1750. That goes green. And then Lemonade, which took an ugly hit yesterday. Lemonade, wow, down another 4%. Down another 4%. Palantir actually just flipped green. That's nice. Look at that. Palantir 181. Not too bad right there. Flipping green on the day, 180.34. We'll see if it can hold that green, but from 178 to 180 is not too bad. Intel 48, that's still there. Bitcoin at 95,000. Celestica, that's down 2.4%. Delta's down. Google is down. Zeta getting hit today, down 5% after being down 5% yesterday. So that's a 10% move across 2 days. TMDX also, see all these small caps that have made massive moves. TMDX was at freaking 149 yesterday, down to 138. A lot of these names getting hit at this point. MP Materials as well, that was up 4%. That one's down. Where is SoFi? Are we holding at least 2650, 2672? 2672. And Palantir just went red. That was a quick 180 to 179 move. Ondas right there at 1320. That's down 5%. VG's up too. It's going to be hard for me to believe that any of these growth stocks can really hold green given the volatility of the red that we're seeing. Even NVIDIA, my goodness, 182.50. It's a pretty ugly move on NVIDIA 2 days in a row. PayPal's green somehow. PayPal, there you go, 56.96. PayPal's green. Rock Lab's green. Yeah, I mean, Rock Lab, let's see if that can hold on to a little bit of that momentum. Rock Lab at their 87. It reminded me of what Pounter just did, where it gapped up and then immediately got rejected. But it would be quite surprising if Rock Lab can actually hold green on a day like this. So I guess the question around, or the answer for why this is happening, is two things. The geopolitical headlines are getting worse. Obviously, that Wall Street Journal headline that just came out about Trump trying to empty the military bases in Qatar for a potential strike in Iran, that's creating some issues. And then number two, PPI was worse than expected, which I don't think is going to have the biggest impact on the markets, given it's also November PPI, not December PPI. Big Bear AI, that's down 2%. Oklo, that's down 4%. Oklo was almost at 110 yesterday. That's at $92 today. But those two things together are probably what's creating some of this pain. Oracle as well, down 2%. Another reason is just we've been super green for the first couple of weeks of the year. So the tariff volatility is something that the street's probably a little concerned about, but we've also been very green. And this might be a day to take a bit of a breather. CoreWeave didn't have any news, although it gapped up on Monday. And I don't even know why it gapped up on Monday, but still holding 4% today. I'll see if there's a headline, but this one definitely doing better than expected. Let me try to confirm if the Supreme Court is giving a decision today. Yes. Okay. Multiple sources. I'm looking at Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. That's 22 minutes away. If we don't get it today, then, I mean, we're probably not going to get it for a while. But this is going to be important in 20 minutes. Be very important. Amcor getting dumped. Again, Amcor, the stock was up 25% year to date. So a lot of these names that are going to get hit, or if they're getting hit, I think it's important to see how much they've run in the first couple of weeks. And, you know, it's even with Zeta, it was up 20% year to date. Now I think it's up 10%. There's probably people that want to take some of the profits, which is fair. EOSE, that's down 4%. Boeing down 1%. Boeing got some good headlines yesterday with Delta. Red Cat, look at that, 7% down. These drone stocks getting some ugly behavior happening right here. Kratos down 5%. All of them getting hit. Ondas down 6% on the day. Let me check the prediction markets. Supreme Court tariffs. Let's see what Kalshi is saying. Kalshi is saying there is a 30% chance the Supreme Court rules in Trump's favor. 31% chance. Which means there's a 69% chance they don't. And maybe that ends up being accurate. IWM, which is up 5% for the year against the S&P's 1%. That one's getting hit by about 0.3%. APLD falling 4%. Again, these data center names are incredibly volatile. Rocket Lab just went red. And it's hard for them to really hold a pump if all the other data center stocks are down. Nebius, 110 to 102. I mean, if this thing falls below 100, would anyone be surprised? Like, these have got to be some of the most volatile names in the market, which is why they have such a juicy options market as well. AMD was up 7% yesterday. AMD down 2%. All right, so giving back about 20% of those gains. Bitcoin 102. Clover Health shares hit the high since November. Annual profit forecast is higher. Clover Health, I can't believe this is a thing. That's up 10%. This was a SPAC. This was a Chamath SPAC in 21. I forgot this was a thing. All right, there you go. Clover Health. That's green. This is day trading waiting on news. Yes, that is fair. This is also definitely... Dude, if we don't get the decision again today, NVIDIA's about to lose 182. My goodness, dude. Ugly. Ugly, ugly, ugly. And you can't tell me there's a fundamental reason for NVIDIA getting hit right here. It has to be macro. Nothing Jensen said, nothing around earnings forecasts. It just has to be more macro bearishness around what's going on. But yeah, that decision in the next 20 minutes is what we're going to see. Tim says, I think the market dumps regardless of the decision while everyone scrambles to figure out what it means. Yeah, I really wonder how the algos. Oh, I said Bitcoin 102. Sorry, I meant to say Nebius 102. If we had Bitcoin 102, we'd probably be having a much better S&P 500 day. I wonder how the algorithms are programmed to think about the tariff ruling, because all of us are thinking conventionally, okay, tariffs go away. Two things: markets could like it because they never like the tariffs, then boom, everything goes up, and then market could like the retailers, your Lulus, your Nikes, your Elfs, because those names. I mean, Nike literally said our entire earnings has been messed up for the past 3 quarters because of tariffs. I mean, they've been very explicit about that. Nike right there is 67, so that should be an immediate tailwind. But geopolitically, does the EU have to buy 750 billion of natural gas from the United States if we don't have 70% tariffs we're threatening onto them, because it's not legal to threaten those tariffs? I mean, like, I think it just, I mean, Trump is talking about the entire country will be screwed to levels of an epic proportion if we don't have these tariffs. So I think geopolitically, it's going to create a lot more instability. Nvidia very close to losing 182. No, we lost it, 181.79. We bounced a little bit, 181.79. AMD down 2%. Rocket Lab down 2, and then Palantir down 2. Tesla loses 440, 439 on Tessie. It's kind of crazy that Bitcoin's actually green in the midst of all this. Yeah, look at Bitcoin basically inching towards 96. Maybe Bitcoin's going to like no tariffs. Maybe. Semis are probably dropping because metals are rising. If prices don't also go up, margin compression will occur. You know, that is a great point, and I have been thinking about that for a couple of weeks now, which is that a lot of the semiconductor names in their supply chain use, obviously, a ton of the different precious metals. And in the rally we're seeing with silver, copper, palladium, etc., you would have to imagine it's going to catch up to the companies. I mean, Elon has said this as well, right? That silver's price is not sustainable. He said that when silver was at $70. Silver's at 92 now. So you got someone like Elon, which runs a pretty sophisticated industrial supply chain for Tesla, saying that this is not sustainable. By the way, why did Elon tweet today that FSD will only be a monthly subscription after February 14th? What is he trying to do here? Usually FSD is like $8,000 for the year, and you could do $100 a month. And I'm curious because my dad is thinking of buying the entire subscription, but what can someone tell me what's the logic here? What is the business use case for why you would only make FSD a monthly subscription? It would force you to buy it now. Okay, but realistically, in 1 month, how much revenue are they going to generate from FSD? Like, and people buying the subscription today, like a 1 month window. It's not really like a Black Friday for FSD. Oh, sorry, 8,000 is lifetime. Oh, hey guys, can someone help me out with this? When you buy FSD, like let's say I bought the 8,000 FSD for my my Model Y, and then I want to get a Cybertruck. Can I take the FSD from my Model Y to my Cybertruck? Because that's one of the biggest reasons my dad doesn't want to buy the lifetime subscription, because if you can't transfer it, he thinks if he gets a Tesla in the future, then there's no point of buying it. It does not transfer. Okay, see, that's what he thought. And I'm telling my dad, I'm like, Dad, you're probably not getting another Tesla. Like, this, like, I don't think you're gonna get a Cybertruck. But he's like, yo, but what if I do? I'm like, but you're probably not. Like, your Model Y is fine. And if you do, then we'll freaking buy FSD again, like in like 10 years or whatever. But okay, so you can't transfer it. Okay, so then why is Elon doing this? What is this? What's the point of making it a monthly subscription only? Also, is he lying? Like, is he just trying to do this to juice the numbers? This is so weird. I don't understand why you would only limit it to be a monthly subscription. Elon sometimes allow transfers. No, I've heard that they sometimes allow transfers on a special bonus, but that's not like a rule that you're allowed to transfer. Wow, Meta 622. Yeah, only when they run a promotion. 622.65 on Meta. This one is not able to hold even 625. Maybe they'll start letting transfers. Oh, shit. This might be a good reason. Elon's comp plan. He does need 10 million subs for FSD. That's a good point. He does need 10 million subs, right? That's in the compensation package. It doesn't have to be lifetime subs. It just has to be subs in general. That might be the reason. That might have solved the puzzle. I mean, that's actually a really obvious way to justify it. Bitcoin's making a little move here. 96.4. 96.4 actually getting me interested here. 92, 93, it's like, all right, whatever, it'll go back down. Above 95 is like, no, this might actually hold on. It's not helping Robinhood right now, but at least those volumes will be good. Robinhood down 2.5. Yeah, everything high beta besides Bitcoin today is getting hit. Bank of America down to, wow, S&P 690. Are we about to lose it? We did lose 690 for a second. It's 689.11. We closed at 680 on December 31st, so we're giving back a decent chunk of whatever January rally we've had so far. NASDAQ down 1%. Meta looks like it wants to go below 600, dude. Meta looks like it wants to. NASDAQ right there. There you go, 1%. Where's the Googs? Google is still a $4 trillion company, 333. That's down. Amazon, are we below 240? We are once again below 240 at $238. Apple is down again at 259. And then Microsoft, which unveiled a plan to reduce data center. Wow, Microsoft 464. Goodness. All right, 12 minutes until this tariff news. Maybe that changes stuff. BMNR should be moving, right? ETH is, are we at 3,400? Almost 34. You know, Tom Lee did say 9,000 by the end of January. I mean, we have 16 days left, right? So, yeah, we talked about the Qatar Air Base, U.S. reducing personnel. Looks very likely that they want to strike. Grab once again getting hit. Again, I really can't explain what's happening here. There is not much that I have to explain. I know when the broader market's down, obviously Grab's going to get hit with the broader market. Again, all I can say is if you lose faith in the story, you got to get out. That's it. There's not much you can do. You either complain or you get out. And in this case, I believe the story is strong. The stock price is not reacting to it. There's not much you can do outside of that. But if you lose faith, then you lose faith. Rocket Lab right there going green. It's kind of at 86.50. I will say the shorts are obviously in control right now. The shorts have won this battle. I don't know if they're going to win the war, but the short rate is at over 10% at this point. So definitely they have been able to get this sucker to go down. Silver still up 4%. It was up 7%, so that one lost a little bit of juice. Then BMNR up 7% on the day. Oh, yeah, BMNR, no, they have their vote on Thursday, I think. That's crazy that OSS is still green today. How the hell is that one green? That's crazy, bro. This thing should be down like 10% on a day like this. That's actually wild. I'm surprised any algo love is coming to OSS and that's actually holding green. You would think that one gets hit. Yeah, well, you do have the Clarity Act potentially being introduced tomorrow. There's people saying different things around that. But that could be a pre-pump for crypto. MicroStrategy making a move. Shanghai silver prices are now at $105 an ounce. That's at a $13 premium to spot silver in the US. Clarity Act should be end of month. Okay, not tomorrow, end of month. Clarity Act should be end of month. Julia Letlow, she's a representative. She just filed her stock disclosure. She bought Microsoft, UNH, and AMD. Microsoft, UNH, and AMD. Those are some of the stocks that our politicians are buying. UNH, I mean, given there's some healthcare legislation coming up, that might be something that's also important. BMNR, are we actually getting a big move today? Wow, 7%. All right, decent move. Decent move here with Bitcoin. ExxonMobil's at all-time highs. That's also pretty interesting. I think that might be based on the idea of strikes to Iran, which will lead to potentially more oil. I mean, that could be part of the narrative right there. Chevron as well, up 2% on the day. Chevron and Exxon, a lot of the energy names getting some love right here. We don't have the averages on these politician buys. We just know that these are the stocks that they bought. By the way, the information reporting Microsoft is spending $500 million on Anthropic's API. So Microsoft, although they have a very deep relationship with OpenAI, they are partnering and spending on a lot of the other AI providers. NBC says that buying Greenland could cost as much as $700 billion. I don't think we have that much money to spend on this stuff. But that is another thing the market is considering as a risk. NVIDIA right there, 182. Bitcoin, 96.6. If she can get above 97, that would be very exciting. Clarity Act again towards the end of the month would be the catalyst to see. VG still up 3.8%. What's going on with SMCI? Their preliminary guidance last quarter was not good. Their margins are really not good. This used to be a beloved name in the server rack space, and now it's just turned into a disaster. By the way, there's another hedge fund that came out yesterday. I forgot the name of them, but they said their best short idea for 2026 is Dell. Same thing, margin compression is what they are more concerned about than not. Dell right there is up about 1% as the market opens. Kraken just tanked. Let me check. Kraken Robotics. I wish they put this thing on the NASDAQ or the NYSE. Yeah, that's down 5% today. Now, this thing is up, what, 25% year to date? Yeah. So it's OTC. Got a lot of people excited about it. Look, I like this stock. A lot of people have asked my opinion about it. My only concern, and I don't think it's an illegitimate concern, the only bull case I hear about this is that they're an Anduril supplier. And is that the only bull case we're buying? That it's an Anduril supplier? And it's like a proxy to the Anduril IPO, which is fine. But I feel like there would want to be a bigger bull case besides just an Anduril supply. Now, again, sometimes you only need one bull case to buy stuff. You don't need, it doesn't need to be too complicated. I just like, if that's the only argument, it's not the most compelling, but obviously it's done very well for people and it's up about 30% year to date, 96.7 for Bitcoin. They're an industry leader in underwater batteries. Okay, that's fair, but again, I mean, most of the battery sales, from my understanding, is Anduril, and most people are buying it not because they're a leader in underwater batteries. I mean, if they didn't have Anduril as a customer, would you be buying them? That's the better question. Which I think is a fair question, right? Like, if they lost Anduril as their customer, would you be interested in the fact that they're a leader in underwater batteries? Because that's still part of the thesis, right? But if they lose Anduril, then it's like, does the thesis fall apart? And I think if the thesis falls apart if they lose their biggest customer, which shouldn't be the reason the thesis falls apart. It should be potentially a reason you don't size up as heavy as you were before, but it shouldn't be a reason you don't touch the stock. And I think that would be a reason a lot of people wouldn't even care about the stock if they lost Anduril. NVIDIA right there, once again, losing 182. 181.90. CoreWeave up 6%. Okay, that's holding on, 92.99. We got 4 minutes, folks, for the Supreme Court decision. 4 minutes. 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. Let's see what happens here. Bitcoin on Polymarket odds of breaking 100,000 now is 63%. 63%. And again, for all the people getting mad about Kraken, I'm not saying it's a bad company. I think it's a fine company. It's probably a cheap company when you look at the growth potential. I just personally don't love it if that's the only bull case. Doesn't mean, that bull case is a bad bull case. It's probably a little better than PayPal, which continues to be stuck. Although PayPal's up today. PayPal's green. PayPal, Exxon, and Chevron are green. OSS, I don't know how the hell that's green, but that's green as well, up 4%. COPEX Copper continuing to get love. Again, the commodities, it really does feel like they are in a super cycle. Silver, copper, gold, all of them. Gold a little less than silver and copper, as those are really taking off. The fact that Shanghai silver is at 105 and US spot silver is at 91 is kind of crazy. And I wonder at what point does the industrial part of the economy say we need to manipulate silver so it comes down because these prices are absolutely unaffordable for our margins, which I don't think is a risk you can discount. Now, granted, there just might be so much demand that it's impossible for them to do that. But then again, these are very powerful companies that need to control the cost of their supply chains. It's just if this debasement trade continues to be what it is, which is the infinite money printing that we are involved in, then, I mean, people are going to want to hedge, and that hedge is turning out to be silver and gold. All right, Supreme Court. 1 minute. 1 minute to see what happens here. CoreWeave up 4%. I have multiple sources open. Should be getting a decision very soon. And then we'll see how the market reacts. I think let's go to Nike. That's going to be probably our telltale 66.93. That's up 1%. Do you think the decision will cause a big sell-off? I have no idea. I think there's a world where they rule the tariffs are legal. I mean, right now everyone's saying they're going to rule against Trump. What if they rule for him? And that's it. We move on. Amazon, that's going to be a big one to watch as well, based on the tariffs. Watch them say nothing. I mean, that's very possible. They might end up saying nothing. At this point, they would just be delaying it over and over and over again. All right, here we go. 30 seconds. Let's see. What do we got? Supreme Court, S&P losing 690. Silver still up 5%. Markets pricing in a 73% chance the Supreme Court strikes down the Trump tariffs. Okay, this is happening any second now. Any second now. And we will see. Nike, did we get a red candle right there? Oh, Nike, there's a couple cascading red candles. The decision's not out yet. But you might have algos react instantaneously. Okay, here we go. It's now or never, baby. I'm refreshing everything I see. Don't have the update yet. I'm looking. We do have home sales just now that came in. 4.35 million versus 4.22, which was good. VIX is pumping. All right, let's see if we have something here.
Collected unconstitutionally, and therefore does the administration have to reimburse that money to the companies that paid? That's what's on the line here. Or could we get some sort of more muddled Supreme Court decision, which is a lower threshold than invalidating the entire thing and in forcing the administration to pay back the money? We just don't know as we sit here. So we're going to watch. This is exciting stuff. This is live TV breaking news without a safety net, and we'll see what we get.
All right, Eamon, we will get back to you as soon as you know something. Let's get some economic
S&P is down 1%. We'll get that home data in a second. We still don't have the answer. It looks like the S&P doesn't like whatever is going to happen, though. First red 1% day all year for the S&P. SoFi loses 26. Wow. I mean, okay. SoFi was $29 on January 5th. So $29.80. Well, that's ugly. S&P 688. We just got to rip the Band-Aid off at this point. Got to rip the Band-Aid off. Meta's still down as well. I'm refreshing multiple sources. I still don't see it. It's 10:02. I'm on the Supreme Court website as well. Still don't see an update there. Hood is down. CoreWeave just went from 4% to 1%. So that one just got hit. Bitcoin still holding 96. Nvidia looks like she wants to lose 181, which would be about a 3% red day. Rivian's down 7. Why the hell is Rivian down 7%? That's ugly. Okay, Rivian's down. Hood is down. Qs are down. Google's down. Apple's down. Microsoft's down. AMD's down. Nebius is down. IWM. Ondas down 6%. Amcor down 3. Rocket Lab down 1. Palantir 174. VG's up 3. Netflix is down 1. Tesla's down 2. Rivian got a downgrade. All right, so that explains why that one's down 7%. Meta, are we losing 620? Where is this decision? We don't have it yet. Meta, very close to losing 620. Did touch 619. I don't have it yet, guys. You got the algos going crazy right now. The decision is not out. Let's get the home sales, but decision. Yeah, SCOTUS is later than me right now. They're still not out yet.
Rick Santelli, Diana also has some news for us as well. Rick, we'll start with you.
Yes, David. Business inventories for October, fourth quarter number expected up 0.1%. Comes out up 0.3%. Widgets you make on the inventory side, the more you contribute to GDP. Then GDP for the fourth quarter is already expected to be rather large. We also have existing home sales for December, and for that, we aim east to Diana Olick. Diana?
Well, Rick, existing home sales in December rose 5.1% from November to a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 4.35 million units. That's a strong beat. The street was looking for a 2% gain. Sales were up 1.4% year over year. Now, this count is based on closings. So contracts likely signed in October and November when the average rate on the 30-year fixed mortgage didn't move very much, hovering around 6.2 to 6.3%, but down from close to 7% where it was last spring and early summer. Inventory was the big headline. 1.18 million units available for sale at the end of December, down 18% from November, still up 3.5% year over year. With stronger sales, though, that dropped to a 3.3-month supply, which is considered quite lean. That kept prices in the positive, just barely 405,000.
Okay, so median home sales are good. I am seeing various reports. I don't want to say anything yet because I'm seeing a lot of conflicting ideas. I want to get the official thing from the Supreme Court. Yeah, I don't want to say this yet. I mean, like, none of these can be confirmed enough to say them. Look, here's the thing. I think we're gonna get a decision because they would have said they're not giving a decision by now. But then again, if they didn't put it out at the desired time, well, they did put out a decision. They put out a decision around transgender athletes in women's sports. So they did put out a decision. It just has nothing to do with tariffs, which means maybe that's the only thing they're putting out today. I do see a decision. Yeah, look, they released the decision right here. It just has nothing to do with tariffs. So that means if we're not, the Barrett versus United States, I believe, is the tariff one, if I'm not wrong. So this is a bit confusing. Or even if that's a different one, they put out a decision that has nothing to do with what we're looking for. I don't even know if the market knows how to react to that. S&P 668 or 688. That one is still down. Let's see if we can get some more coverage on this. The home sales look good. Housing market may be opening up a little bit. But Supreme Court stuff still confusing.
When you're guessing what the macroeconomic is,
all these CEOs as far as what they're
seeing from the consumer and the credit environment.
Well, if the shares were higher, I think we would say it's a reflection of the economy and their business.
Right, I'm just saying, but they're all lower. So that doesn't mean like they're seeing a turn negative in the economy or anything like that. It means that the stocks really ran up and investors are nitpicking some of these results. But the tone, which is so important, and what they're saying on the economy and on the consumer, there's nothing to pick apart there. Nobody's talking about a turn.
And how you're thinking about, let's say we do get some kind of reversal on this IEPA policy, is that a liability for things like the deficit?
Well, perhaps, but I think the president and his administration have laid out other ways that they can reimpose some of those tariffs. So, and we don't know we haven't seen the announcement yet whether they're going to be required to repay some of those tariffs, because there could be a compromise decision on the courts. I think we can't tell so far, but I suspect there'll be other ways they can keep the tariffs on, because we know President Trump.
Guys, I don't think we're getting it. I don't think we're getting it. And I think the news sources are going to pretty quickly realize we're not getting it. If they only released one of their rulings, it's not like they're going to release the other one at 12 p.m. That's not how the Supreme Court works. Like, they release them, to my understanding, all at once, or they don't release them. And they're the Supreme Court. They can take as much time as they want to make these decisions. So, yeah, sometimes they layer them out as well. This is weird, bro. I'm trying to see if we can get the actual data. The tariff court case name is called, this is actually what it's called. Is this really what it's called? It's called Learning Resources Inc. versus Trump. Learning Resources Inc. versus Trump. That is the name of this. In Learning Resources, the District Court of District of Columbia ruled the tariffs were unconstitutional. Okay, so Learning Resources Inc. versus Trump. Yeah, Leering. So that's the one we're looking for. It's actually called Learning Resources, but that's not out. It's not out. Bitcoin loves it. Bitcoin doesn't care. Nvidia hates it. Nvidia lost 181 for a second. Is Trump Somalian? Wow, I actually didn't know the name of the freaking court case. It's called Learning Resources. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Going on the Supreme Court website, still trying to see if they update it. Yeah, this is it. Learning Resources versus Donald Trump, President of the United States. I guess we're not getting it. Barrett is, I believe, Barrett has to do with federal prosecution. I think it's something around the Second Amendment as well. See, I didn't look into that one as deep. I don't think that's the one about transgenders, though. That's a different one. NVIDIA right there, 181. The Supreme Court is still leering about tariffs. Oh my gosh. They're really doing this to us. They're really doing this to us. I want to see the news sources confirm we're not getting it today, because it seems pretty obvious at this point we're not getting it. But it looks like it's not happening. Looking at Bloomberg, they don't have it. CNBC doesn't have it. Fox doesn't have it. Oh, no one has it, bro. We're not getting it. We're not getting it. At least that's what it feels like. Ondas down 7%. Rocket Lab down 1. Palantir down 2. Tesla a little reversal from 438. Maybe those pre-jitters for those algos took these stocks down further than they needed to today. Nike right there, still holding 67. Is that one holding up? Wow, Broadcom down 4%. My goodness. Broadcom. This thing has not been able to catch a bid ever since earnings. as this one's getting hit. Amazon just hit 237. The VIX went from 12% green to 9%. S&P also just got a little bit of a boost. Yeah, look at that. Silver still up 5. I mean, let's get a little bit more coverage on this, but it still feels like we're not getting it yet.
Market or the dollar, at least to this latest threat.
Well, firstly, that can change because we know bond markets can react. But I think they're probably right in looking at what's happened so far. And the Fed has been very good about really pushing all those distractions aside and basing policy on the economics. And I think the bond market, especially seeing the reaction.
It's official. We're not getting it. We're not getting it. It is official. Supreme Court will not be ruling on Trump's tariffs today. It is official. Oh my goodness. U.S. Supreme Court finishes issuing opinions. That's why your VIX just went. There you go. S&P back to 690. All right, so we're back to green. That's all we needed. We needed the Supreme Court to take a day off and not do their job again. Oh my gosh. All right. The Supreme Court will not be issuing a decision on Trump's tariffs today. There you go, folks. I guess the market's okay with it. Bitcoin, wow, 97. Bitcoin likes it. Bitcoin likes it. This is so bad, bro. Yeah, it's literally playing with your emotions. I don't think we're going to get any reversal of tariffs with Trump still in charge. Dude, then it's going to take 3 years for them to reverse the tariffs. If they're not going to freaking do it while Trump's... Odds of tariff decision before 2028 falls to 12%. I mean, at this point, this is a nothing burger then. At this point, we're going to have the tariffs until Trump is gone. Like, if that's really what we're doing, then we need to stop freaking out about the tariff decision because we don't need a tariff decision at this point. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Well, we're getting some green. They're playing harder with my feelings than my ex. Yeah, I guess so, dude. This is incredible. All right, so let's see. Yeah, here we go. Here's some coverage on the official proclamation that the Supreme Court's not giving a decision today.
SCOTUS decision day. Eamon?
Carl, once again, we are not getting the tariff decision from the Supreme Court. They've issued a number of decisions this morning, but now they're wrapped for the day in terms of the decisions, and we know that we're not going to get that tariff decision at this point. So we continue to watch and wait. Not clear when we might see this decision from the Supreme Court. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in this in Washington and around the country and around the world as everybody watches to see what the president's tariff regimen is going to be in 2026. Couple of options here, Carl. You guys were just talking about, could the White House replace the tariffs that were struck down, if they are struck down, with something else? Just thinking through what might happen in that scenario, the administration has said they're determined to make sure that they can continue to collect this money. So what they could do, depending on how the court rules, one is they could switch it over to some sort of licensing fee arrangement if that's allowed by the court. And we have another number of other options under the law that the president could use. He could use Section 338, which allows for tariffs of up to 50%. He could use Section 232, which allows for sector-specific tariffs. He could do country-specific tariffs under Section 301. He could also do tariffs up to 15% for 150 days under Section 122. So a lot of different options here for the administration as they think about what they might do in a scenario where the Supreme Court strikes down the tariffs, which is sort of the betting option here after that Supreme Court argument in November where justices seemed pretty skeptical. That said, not skeptical enough to issue the decision today, and we will continue to sit and wait.
Also, I think we should point out, Eamon, this is not all of the tariff revenue in question that has come in since April. I think there's been more than $200 billion in overall tariff revenue. What are we looking at? A little more than half here that would
about
be covered under these
$133 billion
tariffs?
so far. Yeah, exactly. This is the Liberation Day tariffs. This is the so-called IEEPA tariffs only. He used those for Liberation Day and for China. But he's used these other authorities for other tariffs. So it's not the entirety of the president's tariff agenda, but it is a big chunk of it. And it's the most flexible and direct chunk of tariff authority that the president has assumed for himself here, which is he can sort of impose these tariffs at will. And we saw him do that this week with that threat to put tariffs on Iranian trading partners. That's the flexibility that he wants. And that's what might be constrained by the court if they do it.
Okay, Eamon, thank you. Eamon Jabbers, we'll do it again.
Yep,
Eamon
we will.
In Washington. Here's our roadmap for the rest of the hour. When we come.
All right. That's all she wrote. 690 S&P. Markets very barely recovering across the board. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we get back to some of the levels we were at like in the pre-market, if this was the reason why we had all the volatility to the downside. Bitcoin really likes it, almost 97. But that's what we got. S&P 500 right here, also at 690. Rocket Lab back to 88. Wow, Rocket Lab is just a champ, dude. This thing is just not giving anyone a chance to get in terms of a dip. And the lowest you get is like 83, 84. And that SpaceX IPO continues to be a big catalyst for them. Meta right here, 622. SoFi continues to be stuck. Amazon trying to gap up back to 240. CopEx now up 3%. CoreWeave up 2.3. Duolingo, this one's been ugly all week. Down 3%. Red Cat was down 7. Oklo still down 4. Archer's up 1. A lot of those high beta names are still down. They're not as bad as they were before. Bank of America getting hit right here, down 4%. CEO had some pretty bullish statements. He said the consumer spending is up 5% year over year. Didn't seem too bearish on loan originations. Netflix loses 90. Back down to 88. Wow, app Lovin down 7. Maybe there's something going on in advertising. Maybe that's why Zeta's down as well. App Lovin 8% day. App Lovin is getting probed by the SEC. They also got an upgrade today by Evercore to 835. I don't know why they're down 8% after an upgrade today, but that is down. Let's check Opendoor. Opendoor, that's down 3. Carvana, that's down 1. The housing stocks, Broadcom now below 340. The housing stocks had a good week last week after Trump's announcements, but some of them have not been able to hold on here. I just saw my ELF. I'm not going to wait 3 years. I don't really think we're going to have to wait 3 years for a tariff decision. It would just be kind of crazy if we do. 87.19 right here for ELF. That's flat. I guess Bitcoin's the winner out of all this. The BMNR vote is tomorrow, I believe. Well, I think today is the final date of vote, right? And then tomorrow, that's when it happens. Latest will be June. All right, I guess we're going to have to see. Robna down 1.2. NVIDIA just above 182. Palantir as well, 178. And then Lemonade down 3%. Is it time to double down on Grab? I mean, look, again, I think people have to ask themselves, do they still believe in it or not? I do, which is why I hold. And if we see 450 or below, I wouldn't say double my position, but probably add another 10% to it. But, it's got to get to those levels where it becomes just absolutely egregious. But this is where you have to ask yourself a question. Do you believe or not? I mean, it was the same question with Bitmine when this thing got to 24, right? A lot of people have to ask themselves, do they believe in it or not? Bitmine right here up 9%. It's up a lot from those lows, but obviously people were bag holding pretty heavy at those lows, including myself. And you had to either just be okay with holding it or move on. So I think that's the broader question here. Nebius down 3, Applied Digital down 2 as well. The TA obviously looks bad on it, but look, I'm holding. There's not much more to say. If I am selling, I will sell, and I want to see Q1. Here's the thing: I want to see what their guidance is for fiscal year 2026. If the revenue growth guidance is below 20%, then that is definitely a thesis breaker for me. If the revenue guidance is upwards of 30%, which is what I think it can get to, 25 to 30%, then that continues. They're growing EBITDA 65% year over year. If that continues to be what I think it's going to be, then the stock price is just not reacting to the fundamentals, which is okay. If there's actually a decline in growth, that's a whole different question. You cut your losses, you move on. There's a lot of other names that are growing. If they're growing, MicroStrategy, by the way, great move today, 184, 7%. If they're growing, then I think that's what keeps you higher. Palantir just flipped green. Palantir very close. Yep, 179. Let's see if we can get 180 on Palantir. How about Amcor? I like Amcor. I'm not selling Amcor. I think Amcor is probably a $75 stock towards the end of the year. But again, it's up 25% year to date. So it's like, I mean, if you have to really ask, should I be selling? You probably should be selling. And I've noticed that myself as well. If I'm asking myself, man, should I be selling? It's probably like, yeah, you should. Like, you're not comfortable having either the size of position you have or the stock that you have. And that's okay. That's natural. That's life, right? Like, people sometimes oversize things and they get into a name they don't want to get into and then they get the hell out. I mean, I did that with SoFi 2 years ago. I had a ton of SoFi and I was like, you know what? I really don't believe in SoFi. I believe in Robinhood more than SoFi. And I got out. And Robinhood ended up outperforming a lot better. It was easier on my mental to manage the portfolio. Now I'm into SoFi because I like it at these levels. But when SoFi was like 15 and Robinhood was basically 15, I made the decision and I pivoted. And so I also think you can revisit, and now I'm in it at a higher level at 26, but Robinhood went from 15 to 120. SoFi went from 15 to 26. Now I'm okay paying the extra $9 because the story's gotten better. So maybe some of these names are just better stories after time. Right. But I do think if you're sized up heavy, it's okay to take some profits. Nvidia right there, 182.17. I mean, Nvidia's been dead money all year as well, right? Like, there's a question I think a lot of people have around, hey, the opportunity cost of holding Nvidia this year, which is, again, it's freaking Nvidia, one of the best company on the planet, compared to a lot of other names, or Microsoft, or Meta. It's been a disaster. Like, the only Mag 7 that's actually performed is Google, a little bit of Amazon. So are you selling these companies because they've been an opportunity cost? I mean, maybe, but if you believe in their fundamentals, then no. Oscar's down 2, VG holding on 3%, and then Tessie getting a recovery as well, up to 441. Yeah, Supreme Court decision was delayed for those that are joining. We did not get the decision. I don't know if we're ever going to get the decision. How is no one talking about CapEx or big tech earnings? I understand tariffs play a part, but these companies in Mag 7 are growing a lot. My concern about the Mag 7 earnings, it's not really a concern, it's just like an observation, is that the market might not care once again. Like, they didn't care in Q3. We had amazing earnings and all the Mag 7 fell outside of Google. So it's like, and Amazon, I mean, some of them pumped and then they just got dumped. Like, Amazon got to 260 and then it dumped. So it's like, if they put up those amazing numbers again, which Meta, holiday season, they're going to put up phenomenal numbers. Q4 is always great for Meta and advertising, but will that be enough? Will that be enough? U.S. tells personnel in Saudi Arabia to exercise caution. The U.S. Embassy in Tehran has issued its third alert in 5 days, urging U.S. citizens to leave Iran immediately. The statement advised considering departure by land to leave safely. Okay, so the U.S. once again continuing to make the argument that, or at least continuing to hint at the argument that they are absolutely going to take action here. I mean, this feels like it's inevitable, guys. It really does feel. If they're telling Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and then obviously Tehran, that people should be leaving, and then just the way that Trump is talking about it, I mean, it's very possible they make an action. AMD flips green, 223. That's up 1%. That's kind of crazy, right? AMD flipping green again 2 days in a row while NVIDIA's still down. I guess that upgrade yesterday got the street to be pretty damn excited. But AMD's holding up. My Zeta average is 2050. 2050. If it falls below 20, it is a load the boat on Zeta. If we actually see that below 20 again. Now, we got a ton of volume over the past 2 weeks, which potentially has normalized this $20 base. But then again, you know, it's a small cap. 4 or 5 billion bucks. Could have a ton of selling pressure come in. Yeah, VIX is getting dumped. OSS, dude, the fact that this one didn't go red and now it's up 7% is crazy. Who the heck is buying this today? 7.26% up. My average is $9.99 on this, by the way, for those that were asking my entry, which I bought it I bought the 20% breakout that day. But maybe it continues to hold on. AppLovin destroyed 9%. Dude, AppLovin's getting to where it was back in November. Fell to the 570s in November. I mean, there's a world in which that happens again. Why do you love Zeta so much? If you read my deep dive, the valuation is what I like about it. Did you average up on OSS? No. Still have a $9.99 entry. I think the valuation on it is just really compelling for the growth. I'll link the deep dive again in the chat. I don't even like, there are some investments where what the company does is not as important as the numbers the company is putting up. And like what the company does that stuff matter? Of course, from a holistic perspective, but they've beat and raised for 17 consecutive quarters, and they're going to do it again. They're going to be profitable this quarter. And the Marigold acquisition they just made is going to probably contribute another $200 million in revenue, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a specific acquisition they made. Like this is where you have to go a little bit deeper into the company, and it trades at 4 times sales. Like some of these feel like layups. Now, maybe there's a reason why it's so cheap, and they have some lawsuits, they have some short reports, but I don't think that's enough to warrant the valuation that it's getting. So that's why I like it. SMCI, that's down 0.5%. Robinhood's still down 1%. NVIDIA once again loses 182, even if AMD is going higher. Are you buying BMR options here? No. Jason is. Jason loves the IV on these options. I don't know if we're in a crypto winter or not. So I'm happy that ETH is not like dead at 2,500 like it was in November. But I also don't trust ETH is going straight up to 4,500. So I think buying options here, you have to be super bullish that ETH makes a move up. Which if it does, I have enough BMR stock to benefit from that, so I don't really care. But yeah, the IV is the lowest it's been in a long time for BMR. The recommendation on the vote, I think you vote yes. I mean, like, I think Tanner made this argument, and so did Roy. If you don't believe in management, you're basically, that's what a no vote means. So they need the shares to dilute. So you might as well vote yes for them to be able to dilute. And then you have to trust that management's going to be able to pull it off. Realistically, I think it's trusting that Ethereum is going to go higher and that BMR has the ability to be able to benefit from that, from further dilution more than anything. Their communication on this has not been good, but if you vote no, you might as well just sell it. So that's how I would kind of play with it. Do you think NVIDIA is going to lose market share to AMD? No. NVIDIA is cheaper than AMD right now, dude. Like, it's kind of fascinating how the market is thinking of NVIDIA and how this stock has been dead. The actual interesting about this is we were talking about this yesterday. Who's the net new buyer for NVIDIA? Like everyone already owns it. Or at least everyone who is going to own it owns it. It's in all the indices, 8% of the S&P. You're going to need net new buyers, not traders, because there's tons of traders every single day that go in and out of the stock. Yesterday, it traded like 3 million contracts. Today, it's already traded 1.5 million contracts. These are the top 20 stocks that have been traded so far today in the options market. So, like, who's the net new buyer of this? And I think that's a big question. NVIDIA, Tesla, Intel, AMD, IBIT, Meta, Apple, Netflix, Microsoft, ASST. Look at that. 545,000 contracts traded today. Google, Strategy, Amazon, Palantir, BABA, SoFi, Oracle, Bank of America, SMCI. These are your top 20 stocks traded today. Supreme Court decision is not happening. It's not happening. At least not today. Is Adobe still red? Who's buying Adobe, dude? Who's buying this shit? Oh my goodness, 306. It's gonna go below 300. It's gotta go below 300 here. Is NVIDIA a buy here? If you think they're gonna put up 40% growth again, which they probably will, then yeah. But so is AMD. AMD's probably a buy here as well. Like both of these names, if you believe in the revenue CAGR that Jensen and Lisa have laid out, the market is absolutely big enough to be holding these both from these levels, I believe, over the next 5 years. You could say the same about Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google, etc. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. You could say the same about who's the next buyer. But I think that kind of coincides with my point, which is that all those stocks have been kind of trash all year. So it's kind of just like, it's more of a large cap thesis, I guess, in general, which is who is the next buyer for these names. Outside of Google. Google's up 5% this year. Which, again, goes into the broader argument. You know, people have been saying that we're going to have a Mag 7 rotation for 3 years. It hasn't happened. I still don't really think it's going to happen this year, even though the first 2 weeks have been really good for small caps. But because I just think the rich get richer, the big get bigger. They have the cash flows, the balance sheets, etc. But what if this is the year? What if this is the year we're holding a Meta or an Amazon or a Google or an NVIDIA actually underperforms holding the small caps or even mid caps? Like fourth year of the bull market, maybe that's how it plays out. Adobe could go below 100 and I still wouldn't care. Yeah, I just like, why do people outside of the multiple on this, which like, again, like the multiple on Adobe is, yeah, it's cheap, but there's a lot of other stocks that are pretty damn cheap. And I know Adobe does a lot of free cash flow and stuff. I get it, but it's photo and video editing software. Like it's not, and I don't think there's a massive AI tailwind that they've experienced. It feels like Nano Banana and Canva and Meta's AI and ChatGPT Sora. It feels like all those are replicating what Adobe's doing. Obviously, Adobe has like a professional class of producers, filmmakers, etc. that use it, but that's not the average person. The average person like is just going to use one of these AI tools and do what they need to do. It's so much more than that. Okay, so what is it? Like genuinely, I'm like, what is it besides video and photo editing? Like, I actually have no idea. Someone tell me, what else does Adobe do besides help me edit and my photos and videos? What, they have a PDF? That's what we're buying. I'm not even trying to hate on the stock. Like the stock is cheap. I'm acknowledging that. But it's just like, who the hell cares about Adobe? Like, everyone's saying PDFs. Okay, so PDFs. Every company has to use a PDF. Adobe Analytics, come on, bro. Is that like, I think there's a lot of other business intelligence analytic tools. And I don't think that's Adobe's like cream of the crop. BM&R right there, 34. It's up 9%. Shopify. Where is Shopee? Wow, Shop down 6%. I don't even use Adobe to edit my videos. No, I use something called Filmora, which sounds like such a sounds like a children's editing software, but it's like a really, really simple, because I just need simple ways to edit. Like I tried using Adobe Premiere and I was just like, this is way too advanced. I don't know why I use this. So yeah, I don't even use it. Siege, thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciate you, man. You do not have to send these super chats, but thank you for being here. Thank you for the $20. Shopify right there, down 7%. Zeta down 5%. Nvidia still down 2%. And Adobe still down 1%. Ask Gemini. Okay, that's a good question. Tell me what Adobe does for businesses besides photo and video editing. Adobe has a document cloud. PDF management is their big thing. E-signatures, collaboration, AI assistance, Adobe Experience Cloud, a robust data analytics platform that collects data from the web, mobile, and other touch points. Adobe Campaign, Adobe Commerce, a collaborative work. Okay, so there's a work management software that allows collaborative analytics, and then e-signatures, AI assistance, and PDF management. Helps businesses break down data silos, use generative AI for content scaling, and optimize the entire customer business. I mean, look, that's cool, but it's like, well, let's ask a deeper question. Okay. How much of those things contribute to revenue outside of the core video and photo business? Maybe that's like 20%, 30% or something. $5.8 billion. Yeah, round about 30%. Digital media was 74%. Digital experience was 25%. Okay, so that's 25% of their business. I mean, yes, is that a decent chunk? Sure. Is that enough for everyone to be goo goo gaga over Adobe? Like 75% of their revenue is photo video. Not saying it's not cheap, just saying there's not some Trojan horse that's hidden, some secret sauce no one knows about. That's going to be like the big thing that gives it a multiple. I don't know. Bitcoin still holding 96. Broadcom getting hit again. S&P just went red again, 690 to 688. Full reversal. Meta looks like it wants to go below 620. As a designer literally using Adobe right now, I see people coming into marketing and they will not learn how to use Adobe. They will use Canva because it's way easier to use. Adobe is slowly dying. Well, that's my thesis on Canva. I don't think Adobe's going to die because it's just like too big of a company, but I just think Canva has 240 million monthly users. I've been using Canva every day for 5 years. For the noobs that can pay $10 a month instead of $40 a month for Adobe, it's really easy to use Canva. And I like Melanie Perkins. I think she's legit as a founder. Broadcom still down 4. Rocket Lab somehow holding green. AppLovin still down 9. And AMD at 223. Would you buy OSS or Zeta? I would buy Zeta over OSS. OSS is too speculative. I like it, but you know, it's also made a run from 6 to 12. Zeta, again, I think it's cheap. Do you think Zeta has a moat? I think their first party data that they've developed over the past 10 years is their moat, but it's a legit question, right? Is that enough of a moat, especially in the advertising space? I don't fully know, but I know that's enough to allow them to beat and raise for 17 quarters in a row and raise guidance from 22% to 28% to 34%. Like sometimes these numbers become undeniable. Like at some point, you look at the numbers and be like, okay, something's really working here. even if you don't fully understand it. OSS says the breakout volume just needs a good catalyst now. Well, they had that government contract last week, which is a pretty good catalyst. They need to get like that prototype to translate into a real like $500 million to $1 billion contract. That's where things get very exciting. But as of now, they are not there yet. Netflix and Warner Brothers. Let's get a little bit of coverage on that, as Netflix is potentially putting $83 billion in cash up for Warner Brothers.
Is not expected to take place until late spring or early summer, in part or largely because of the time and effort needed to go through all of the accounting, dealing with the issuance of stock and the financials that requires for the proxy. That's what you get, of course, when you're a voter and own the shares. With an all-cash bid, it's much simpler. That proxy can come out much sooner, and I am told by people familiar with the situation, you could be talking about a shareholder vote that is held as soon as, let's call it, late February, early March. That will significantly compress the timeline here, of course, making a decision for Paramount within that timeline far more important, because they are currently suing. They are currently trying or threatening to replace the board with a proxy fight as well with their own nominees. But what they really will most likely be forced to do is meet the objections of Warner Brothers board in some way around any number of different things, including the breakup fee and making it clear that they're going to pay that, including the $1.5 billion in terms of the adjustment of the bridge loan for global networks. And overall, in terms of value, will they choose to do that? Remains to be seen. But the timeline in which they were going to have to make those decisions has now potentially, if we do get this from Netflix, become a lot shorter, which is good news, isn't it? For all of us. You won't have to hear me talking about this endlessly. But speaking of Warner Brothers Discovery, we have here on set Bill Niger and Harris Oakmark for the deal. Many perhaps have chosen to sell, hence that sell-off in the stock price as they move forward potentially with the deal. Do you think the board, because Paramount obviously has a different view, they say we have been disadvantaged, we have value far in excess of what Netflix is offering.
Paramount has been out there saying that the global networks business won't have much value at all, but then they include it in their acquisition. If they think it's worthless and they move to $30 and let the shareholders keep that, I think that would be a substantially superior bid.
Yeah, they also make an assumption on a multiple EBITDA for that business. Meanwhile, their own business is large.
The fact that Netflix is even thinking of offering all cash also means that they're potentially getting scared that Paramount's going to have a better offer, which I don't think they need to be, given Warner Brothers wants to give them the money. But obviously, if they come out with a better offer, then it's something they have to entertain. AppLovin still down 9. Broadcom down 4. Nike flips red. S&P lows of the day, 687.85. Meta loses 620. SoFi loses 26.50. Netflix, are we at 89? Netflix is at 88. The only real green I'm seeing today, folks, is MP. A little bit of Coinbase, obviously based on Bitcoin. BM&R. And then AMD inching out $1 worth of green. Everything else, Shopify, Zeta, Netflix, Adobe, Nvidia, Grab, Amcor, Amazon, Elf, Carvana, Opendoor, S&P, Meta, Rivian got hit today bad. Dell, SMCI, everything else is red. I mean, you got some of the energy names that are green. CoreWeave somehow holding some green. PayPal holding a little bit of green. Obviously, silver and copper holding green. All the Mag 7s are red, including Apple, Microsoft, Big Bear AI, Oklo, all your high beta names. It's a red day. It's a red day. VG is giving you a little bit of green. Autodesk is red. I mean, if NVIDIA keeps falling and Google keeps staying stable, they're going to be matching in market cap pretty soon. $400 billion away, but could obviously catch up. I don't know why Shopify is red. I mean, they must have got a downgrade as well. It's a pretty ugly move on Shop. But then again, Shopify is technically a SaaS company, even though it doesn't get put into that SaaS bucket. So one could argue that if the SaaS names are not in favor, then that, I mean, AppLovin's also a SaaS name. So is Zeta. So all of those getting hit at the same time. And then, you know, although we didn't get the Supreme Court decision, we are still seeing these headlines about the United States freezing visas, telling American citizens to leave Iran. I mean, you're getting this Trump tweet in the morning about Greenland. Geopolitically, I guess, along with the PPI being worse than expected, you put that together and that'll give you your first red day of the year, first meaningful red day of the year. I think a lot of this is resolved once you get earnings, and not resolved per se, but at least it's put into context. The bank earnings so far have been pretty good. The tech earnings have not started yet. We get TSMC tomorrow. That's going to be important. They're probably going to crush again. If that, along with the Max 7 and the rest of these tech companies, show up with a good Q4 with a really strong guidance for 2026, which is, I think they will. I don't think there's any reason for them not to. That should be enough to get the market to at least stabilize and not necessarily see that dramatic of a decline. 687 officially down 1% on the S&P, 687.09. If it loses 687, then we are headed towards levels that we were at closer to the end of 2025. I do not know when we'll hear from the Supreme Court. I mean, we don't even, last time we got an official date right after. We got January 14th. This time we didn't even get a date for the new Supreme, unless anyone saw it. I don't see the new date that the Supreme Court gave for a potential ruling, which means this thing might be in limbo for a while. And I guess we're just going to have to deal with that. Nebius under 100, of course. Why not? This is why I didn't get excited the past 2 days when it was above 100. And I was a bit more nonchalant. I mean, like, I've been looking at the stock for almost 4 months now. Like, it is not, ever since the November drawdown, ever since the loss of 140, I feel like it's got to make a real break. Same thing with Bitcoin. I didn't get excited about it because it's like it hasn't made a real breakout. Now, maybe that's changing if Bitcoin can hold above 95. But a lot of these names, you can't get too much FOMO and you can't be too greedy. Like, Nebius is probably not going to 70, but it's probably not going to 120 tomorrow either. Which means it gives you an opportunity to DCA, sell options, and kind of wait until you see a clear trend for a breakout. AMD just went red. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough for AMD to be green when every other semiconductor stock is red today. S&P 687, did we break it? Yeah, we broke it. There you go. 1.03% down on the day, 686.65 on the S&P. All right, it's a red day. It is what it is. It's a red day. It happens. Had a lot of green days. This is one of those days that's more red than not. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. I'll be back on the market close. We'll see what ends up playing out towards the end of the day. The biggest headline is no Supreme Court tariffs decision. And then obviously Trump continuing to mouth off about Greenland and Iran, which is probably leading to some instability. Crypto is the only thing that's really holding up today. Everything else, as you can see by the S&P 500, is getting hit pretty bad. Yeah, this headline last night was also interesting. China posted a record 1.2 trillion surplus, even with the tariffs we put on them. So it's almost like the tariffs didn't do a decent chunk of work to take that surplus down. But China continues to be pretty strong. Word of the day. Penumbra. Penumbra, a partial shadow or shaded area, a zone of certainty between light and darkness. Most investing decisions live in the penumbra, not clearly right or wrong, just probabilities and judgment. I'm pretty sure we're saying this right.
Penumbra.
Okay, there you go. Penumbra. That's what we got. All right, that's it. I'm sorry I'm leaving early today. I got to go head out to New York. Something special we are working on over the coming weeks. Have a meeting there. Got to go drive down there, but we'll be back for the market close. Usually we end at 11. It's 10:50, so we're ending 10 minutes early. But we'll be back for the market close. We'll see what we got going on. And the dentist went well yesterday, for those that are asking. The dentist was fine. So no issues with the dentist. Yeah, we'll be back in the market close. We'll see what we got going on. Red day. Silver's up. Oil companies are up. Crypto's up. Everything else is down. We'll see if this trend changes towards the end of the day. I do not use FSD in New York. I mean, I've tried. It doesn't really work too well, so maybe I can try again today, but we'll see if it actually helps. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys on the market close. Bye, everyone.